Speaking of perspective, we'll start out from the higher altitude and we'll talk about what it looks like from a jet. So A-Rod used the word tally, which means he could visually see with his eyes. And from up here, at this distance and altitude, it's a little hard to see. I can see I got some smoke columns down here. I certainly have some symbology for where my friendlies are looking, but it'd be kind of hard to see a target. So obviously we end up using a targeting pod. Targeting pod has a few levels of zoom. So from left is the most zoomed out, to the right is a little more zoomed in. And in the next pictures, you're going to see even more zoom all the way to our max zoom level. So it gives us a really good view, but it's also still a soda straw, so we have to look around. We also have a different perspective. So we are flying around, typically in a circle or offset to a side, and we're going to see multiple angles of that battle space. Jet to helicopter. You guys are going to be, as I understand it, and Grumpy, please jump in here, about enough distance away to not have threats, but you still want to be able to see and use your effective weapons. I believe you said you were 6 kilometers in these pictures. Is that right, Grumpy?
6 kilometers, about 1,000 feet AGL.
Okay. So you can see that he's got some distance. He's got a good optic, and he's seeing this same space that we saw before up here, but he's seeing it from a different angle, right? Now, here's another shot from a slightly different angle. Looks like you might have a little more altitude in this shot.
Nope, different helicopter. 600, about 600 Ks, 1,000 feet. The first one was from the Kiowa, the second one's from the Apache.
Okay, perfect. So again,
It's a different angle.
Right, if you're correlating, we're going to see things a little different. So trying to understand how that could affect us. Now, a JTAC is probably going to be in the best elevated position they can get, but here we are looking at the same target. They're going to see in color. And as you can see, they can't see the target the same. They got these buildings in the way. So if we have our JTAC up here on the hill on the left, and we look at our targets over here on the right where they are, the line of sight directly is blocked by that vehicle. Again, as we can see from the targeting pod and their line of sight, I can certainly see things a little differently. So all I'm trying to say is our perspective is relative to our position, and we might want to think about that as it relates to correlation. Any questions on this? Fed, I know you said you'd worked and done some JTAC work before. Is this kind of in the same genre of things you had worked on?
Yeah, absolutely. Just kind of like getting used to what you're seeing versus, obviously from the airspace, you're looking at things from a weird angle already, and then another guy's looking at it from a completely different angle. So making sure you guys are talking onto the same target's pretty important.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay, so just to compare some perspectives, here's a direct comparison between a JTAC and a jet, and obviously scenarios change this a little bit. And then here's kind of all three, just kind of looking at that same exact area. Anybody notice any things that might make this hard to correlate beyond the fact that some of the people's vision is blocked, like the JTACs?
Also, I'll say one thing. Okay.
Nope.
I'll say one thing that aircraft don't really have a good perspective is terrain, elevation changes that the ground or even the helos will have a much higher fidelity on that than us up in the air.
Yeah, certainly. So you can actually see a hill up here in the helicopter, and no matter what my shots are, I'm not going to see that. But sorry, go ahead. Who was talking?
No, that was me. So three different perspectives, and the one on the left with the JTAC on the ground, I would say that's best case right there.
Yeah.
Probably that JTAC is going to be embedded with the platoon that's on patrol at the elevation of the ground that you're seeing through that optic down there. So what he's going to see is that building from ground level, not from this elevated, 200 to 300 feet from a hilltop, right? He's going to be most likely with the patrol down there. So his perspective is even going to be 300 meters and in. They're not going to see anything beyond that 8-foot tall wall that is only 50 feet in front of them. And then you go to the next picture. You mentioned like you can kind of see the elevation in the 64 capture here, but I will tell you that looking through a narrow, what do you call it? The field of view, if you're zoomed in, especially any kind of optic, even from low angle, anything that has depth of field, you will not see changes in elevation. So a hill that is 1,000 meters in front of you versus a mountain that's 20 kilometers away, they look the same. So it is very difficult to determine elevation changes and what's in front and what's in back based on what your two eyeballs see, because you have stereoscopic vision. When you're looking through a sensor, you're seeing through one quote unquote eyeball, and there is no depth of field. So something that is close versus something that's far has the same focus, which your brain isn't used to seeing. So you have to learn to correlate the imagery that you're seeing. Like a tree has a certain, I'll call it like expected size in your brain, because that's how you grew up, and that your brain expects to see certain things. So you got to learn to correlate those trees that are in the front of that image there. Like, okay, I think those are about 50 to 100 feet tall. So that means the distance to my things beyond it are X amount of distance. You learn to judge that. And then you look at the high angle imagery to the right, you're just looking at a map. There is no elevation, and you have, a God's eye view of everything. It's looking through sensors. It's very, very difficult to judge things like elevation changes and the relative distances, what's near, what's far, because the camera doesn't make a distinction.
Especially when we're directly overhead, right? We just see a flat image.
Yep.
Kelly, hold this slide for a second.
Yep.
So one of the things I also want to point out with your perspective thing here, this is an amazing image that you have showing the 3 different fields of view and perspective. And the reason I like this, because on the far left, you've got the JTAC view. If somebody's seeing that view, they can mistakenly perceive that as the infantry is on the roof of the building.
Yep.
And then when you look down on it, they're nowhere near that building. And if they call fires on that target because of the armed personnel they perceive to be on that roof, you're hitting the wrong target.
Fog
I was
of
gonna
war.
ask about that.
Yeah.
Your talk on from the JTAC might be, to them, the building is a very significant part of the scene, whereas a little bit of overview gives you that building really means nothing to the target.
And this is where,
in the scope of things.
And this is where, in my mind, every mission I've ever done, every flight I've ever done, there's always something you have to work through. And in this case, I think it's important that this is a discussion, right? Somebody on the ground, JTAC, whoever says, hey, those dudes are in the building, got a gun. And you're looking over there like, I got no building with a gun, but I've got, guys over here in an intersection. If you happen to know where their position is, maybe you can kind of scan and figure it out and make sure, recheck your grid, all of those kinds of things. But maybe you can kind of see, like, when we were looking at this image, if you happen to know where they are on the map and you're seeing these, you're like, oh, maybe this looks a little funky. So I think that's a great point. Thank you for bringing that up.
Well, also to the JTAC, there is no intersection.
We're right. You're right. There isn't. They might. I think in the game, I could see like a-ish softball road, which we'll get to what that means in a minute. It's just a dirt road going off this way. But I wouldn't even know if I would be comfortable calling that the way I saw it. I just knew it was there.